Oh.
Do you expect to be back next year?
That's not the focus right now, to be honest with you. We're fresh off this loss. My sole focus is on our players, our team, and just trying to find ways to get better.
Have you met with Ed since the game?
We talked briefly on the plane, and there's going to be a time when we're going to get together either later tonight or tomorrow sometime.
How hard is it to not be your focus? I mean, I think we've all had job uncertainty in our lives, and it's hard not to kind of be.
It's just, I mean, we all know what type of business this is, and the focus is, for me was, at least today, to take a look at the tape and try to figure out why and what went wrong. So that's where all my focus has lied, and then as in that process, you start thinking about, all right, what are the things that we need to do to get better? So that's just where I've put all my mental energy.
I think we asked this last night, but in your mind, why do you think you're the guy to get this team over the top, whatever that looks like?
I don't think those are questions for me. Like I said, I think my sole focus is just trying to find solutions to some of our issues and why things went awry yesterday. And, it's disappointing. I'm as disappointed, obviously, as all you guys, as our fans, as everybody in our organization, because we had plenty of opportunities to slam the door shut, and we didn't get it done.
Just to be clear, though, yes or no, do you want to still be the coach here for next year and going forward?
Of course. I mean, this is one of one. I love this place. I love the people. As much as you guys drive me nuts sometimes, I love you guys. I love our players, the locker room, everybody in our organization. I mean, this is a unique place. The community has been outstanding. I grew up in the Midwest, and it's got the same type of vibe that I grew up in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. So, people are unless you're, I think, from here, you don't understand how friendly everybody is. And it's nice to, no matter who you are, you're walking down the street and people say hello to one another. And I've lived other places, so I think this is a unique place, and it's a special place. My kids love it here. My family loves it here.
Matt, you talked about finding solutions. Over years now, there's been a handful of really close playoff losses, and you haven't been able to get those games to swing your way. What do you need to change as head coach to make sure that happens?
Yeah, I think you're always trying to evaluate and making sure that you're putting your players in position to make plays, and ultimately it's going to come down to that. And these games are tight, the margins are small, and when you have those opportunities, you got to take advantage of them. And unfortunately for us, you always look and see when it gets tight. If a guy makes a mistake, why are we making a mistake? And so those are constantly at the forefront of our mind.
Is there anything from a culture or team identity standpoint that you think?
No, I don't think so. Because when I take a look at the tape and I think objectively, and you just watch it, and like I look at our play style and the effort and strain, and our guys are battling. It's not for lack of effort. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of their effort. I thought they battled their tails off, and unfortunately we just came up short.
You started using that word strain, I think, during this season, because I picked up on it that your coaches were saying it, your players were saying it in the locker room. What brought that out? What were you looking for when you talked to them about preparation, getting ready, and that word?
Yeah, I think that's a key component to any good team. is you better see that maximum effort, the level of strain that you have to go to the echo of the whistle. I think that's a characteristic of successful football teams in this league that kind of supersedes any scheme.
You talked about last night about the lack of composure sometimes in big moments this season. Why do you think that kept cropping up, and why weren't y'all able to kind of correct that over the course of the season, some of those learned leads?
Yeah, I think it was more lack of execution than lack of composure. Just looking at the tape, and this is why you got to be careful what you say, I think, especially emotionally after a game. But when I look at it, it's just, don't get me wrong. It's execution, whether it's from the guys on the field or it's from a coaching decision in terms of, well, there were some play calls that you'd absolutely love to have back. Just like there's some plays that some of our guys would absolutely love to have back. And that's football. And like I said, in the biggest of stages, you got to capitalize when you have those opportunities.
When it comes to execution, though, there's other factors that go into whether you execute or not, right? And talking with Evan Williams last night, he said that sometimes you guys really do show an immaturity, whether it's when things are going well and handling good, or when you're facing adversity and overcoming it. How do you get guys who are young but not inexperienced anymore to be a little bit better at both ends of those spectrums?
Yeah, I think that's something that we harp on all the time, and it's that next play mentality. You can't live with what has happened, and what has happened doesn't have any bearing on what's going to happen next. So you've got to learn how to handle success and failure in the same vein and just move on to the next play.
And so things went so well for you in the first half offensively.
Sure.
What changed? And in retrospect, what would you have done differently to stop that momentum?
Yeah, I think a good play is the first play of the second half. We got Luke Musgrave. It's going to be a huge explosive gain, and we don't fan out to the corner, blitzing off the edge. There was multiple protection busts, and give them credit. They amped up their level of pressure, and we didn't adjust to it. I think it speaks to the importance too of having home playoff games. When you go on the road, sometimes communication can be a problem, and we were in situations where we're in a 5-0, and so that means every O lineman has a man in front of them, and we cut a guy loose, and he's a free runner to the quarterback. So that happened at least 4 times in that last game.
Every NFL season is its own beast, and it has its ups and its downs. Is this perhaps the most maddening from the way it started to the injuries you suffered to not finishing at Chicago twice in 3 weeks?
Yeah, I would say every season's maddening when you end the way we have this, especially this season. Adversity's part of this game, and bottom line is you got to find a way to overcome. And if you don't, then you got to answer a lot of questions for it. So that's where we just got to continue to try to flip the script and move on to the next and find solutions, and need everybody to have that same mindset in terms of what do I need to do to get a little bit better. And the focus has to be daily. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. You're never staying the same. So how do I work for that daily improvement from this moment until next season?
When Chicago started bringing the pressure in the second half, what is the adjustment that you should have made with your protections that wasn't made?
Well, all we have to do is block it the right way, and those aren't issues. Now, they do a nice job in some of the stunts that they did, where it's a challenge sometimes passing those off, but multiple times when you have free runners, that's not good for anybody.
So do you feel like the plan was in place, it just was not executed the way the plan should have done?
I don't ever want to put that all on our players. There were certainly some calls that you'd love to have back, but I also thought we had a lot of opportunities there too. And we got to get all 11 on the same page. That's ultimately my responsibility. And when they're not, it looks bad.
Last night, I think you were talking about a defensive substitution or personnel change, and you had to take a timeout, and, you talked about communication. Has that got to do with a coordinator talking to guys on the sidelines to?
Well, yeah, all of the above. I think, the one that we had on, Chicago subbed, and so, the officials will hold it. We subbed we'd sent 2 D linemen in, and 3 came out. So now you're left with 10. So that's just, it's not acceptable, especially in the magnitude of that game, in any game, let alone a playoff game. But, I mean, this isn't week 1. This is the playoffs. So you got to be at your best. Like I said, the margins are so slim, and you make mistakes like that. To have a timeout at the end of the game was critical, and we didn't have one.
The loss of Edgerton in the third quarter affect the defensive game plan?
Well, you're just taking a really elite player off the field. I did think that our guys that went in did a decent job, but I think, Coop's a pretty special player.
You guys didn't, you didn't win after you lost Micah. Maybe that has nothing to do with it, but was there an emotional response to that maybe you just didn't handle right?
No, I don't necessarily agree with that. It is the facts, but as far as, emotions, a part of this game, we talked about it all week, execution over emotion. And you got to be able to handle that stuff. Adversity is a part of life. It's a part of our game. And you got to be able to, focus on the task at hand and try to rally the troops and put together just a better performance.
With that said, I know your job is to win with who you've got, no matter what. But when you don't have Mike, you don't have Tucker, you don't have Elton, you don't have Devontae. At some point, did it become a critical mass this season where it changed the formula? You could not get to where you wanted to go?
Well, I don't think it made it easier, if that's what you're asking. But I think, we're not going to live in that world because all they are is excuses. So we're going to take the guys that we have, we're going to put them in the best position possible. And unfortunately, we didn't do a good enough job of that.
What happened with Zach Tom? And is he going to have to get surgery this offseason?
I think everything's on the table right now. We're still kind of working through that, obviously hoping to not go that route. But, he went through the week and just we didn't feel like he could go out there and compete to the level that he needed to and protect himself.
And you had to play with Kennard. Why didn't you have a play for Malik Willis or try to get him involved in the game as just a way to shock their defense?
Sure. That's something that we definitely talked about, but, Malik was battling a hamstring, so it's just, we felt like good enough to put him in to play quarterback, but as far as all the running stuff, if he was in the game, we couldn't have done it anyways, because it would have put him at risk. So, Kennard, we've been using for a few weeks at tight end, and so that was actually a can play where we noticed every time we put them in, they were playing man coverage. So we went to the man beater, we busted the protection, and Jordan had no other choice. He wasn't one of the options, I promise you. And as evidenced by the end result of that play, yeah, he got it, and that's happened in a walkthrough, those guys messing around a little bit, but when it did come up, it's like, hey, make sure you protect that football, and certainly we did not do a great job of that.
Why weren't y'all able to run the ball as effectively this season as y'all did a year ago?
Well, I think that's part of our process right now is, you're going to load up all the cut-ups, you're going to take a hard look at it, and try to figure out the answers to that. Was it a scheme-related issue? Is it a personnel-related issue? I would say it's all of the above, we all got to be better.
Matt, when you look at the 4th and 8 that Caleb completed, Isaiah gets the pressure, gets the hit. It looked like Keyshawn may have peeled off to try to help out Quay on the running back. Did you see that looking at the film? And
Yeah, it looked like he tried to undercut, and I mean, very few quarterbacks in the world can make that throw, and he made it, and that obviously saved the game for him.
You ran the ball really well in the first half. Did they do something in the second half that made that a lot tougher?
Yeah, so when we were getting under center, if you notice, they started bringing double-edge pressure. They brought double corner cats. They brought the nickel in a corner. And so that just condenses your edges. So that's part of the reason why, you try to alleviate that issue, and you get either in the pistol or the gun, so that doesn't happen, and now you try to run the ball. It was a good plan by them. There are things to take advantage of that, and we had them dialed up. It's just we didn't have them dialed up at the right time.
Matt, what went into turning to Josh Jacobs in the return game?
Again, trying to put your best players in a position to go out there and impact the game. He came up to me, I want to say it was on Thursday. He's like, "You're not going to let me return?" Because that was when Rich brought that to me. I was like, "Man, I don't feel good about that." But when he said that to me, I'm like, "Do you really want to return?" He's like, "Heck yeah, I do." So it was one of those deals that we were going to save, till later in the game, crunch time when we needed it. And he had a heck of a return. We just got to make sure we finish with the football right there in that situation. But he was a dynamic returner in college. That play in particular is become somewhat of a running play, just how that's blocked up. And why not have your best runner with the ball in his hands? And that's why we went the way we did. And just the kind of the mentality going into that game, or any type of playoff type game, is it's all hands on deck. I mean, Coop's running down there on a kickoff, and I know he's done that in the past, but it's just you're trying to put your best out there.
Do you have what you need personnel-wise? I guess speaking specifically about, D tackle, O-line, corner.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of great options. I really do. I believe in the talent in that locker room. I think Goody and his staff do an outstanding job. And ultimately, like I said, we got to try to put our guys in a better position to go out there and have success.
Matt Welch, how do you feel about Brandon McManus has been really consistent. There were some block kicks early in the season, but he had the one miss all year and then one in the playoffs last year, and he had the 3 last night as well when he really needed it.
Yeah, it was a tough night. There's no working around that, and he knows it. And I know what he said to you guys. Yeah, it was a tough deal.
Matt, will Rich be back as special teams coordinator next season?
That's all the stuff that we're kind of focused on right now, is just going through everything, having the conversations with all our coaches, and then we'll determine all that.
How do you fix special teams? It's been a years-on problem for you, and obviously last night was an example of that, but even multiple games this season that special teams cost you a win. How do you fix that ultimately?
Well, it depends on what aspect of teams are you talking about. I mean, the coverage units, I think we did give up a big return in the game. We didn't win on the outside of Flyers, got pinned inside, and you saw the result. And the result was a return to like the 35-yard line. So those are the things that, from a protection standpoint and a coverage standpoint, that I absolutely think that they've got to be on point. And I thought for the most part this season, we've done a pretty solid job in that regard. But as far as we got to make our kicks when we have opportunities to make our kicks.
Matt, you mentioned you want to stay here with the Packers. There's obviously 8 other coaching jobs available. Would you be willing to coach out the remainder of your contract without an extension?
Again, that's not my focus right now. Those conversations will be had in a very short period of time.
Hey, Matt, in the last 7 years, I think I've heard you say it starts with me several hundred times. I know you mean that when you say it, but whatever it's going to be, whether you're coaching here or somewhere else, big picture, what things do you kind of think you want to do differently or better to when it starts with you? What do you want to do differently?
I think we have to look at everything from how we train to how we practice. These are conversations that I've already had with some of our people, and just trying to find maybe different ways to do things. But those are all the conversations that are ongoing right now. Just taking all the data that we have, comparing it to, other teams or whatever it may be. Certainly this year, we had the injury bug a little bit. It's like, all right, can we do something different to avoid that? Now, a lot of those were just I don't know. I think unavoidable, like when a guy gets his ankle landed on and breaks his fibula or whatever, or a guy gets cut and kicks Tucker Kraft in the knee. Like, I don't know if those are necessarily avoidable. But from a training standpoint, just making sure that we're trying to build up our people, our players, so that they can go out there and they can compete at a high level for a long period of time.
And I was actually wondering what you thought of the injury situation, those terms, because Micah's was non-contact, but other than that, was there a serious injury that wasn't contact? Like, it just seemed like an incredible amount of bad luck. Is there anything that you can do about that, or is that literally?
Yeah, I think that's what we're searching for, to see if there is something that we can do more so that we can try to avoid that. Because, I mean, let's face it, you to be at your best, you need everybody available. And we always talk about your best ability is your availability. And it's tough when you lose some guys.
Hafley has at least five interviews scheduled.
Sure.
Can you replace him from within, or if you lose him, or would you have to go outside?
I think all options are on the table. I think that's something that we'll be working through. I fully anticipate, I think Hafley's going to do a great job on the interview, and I fully anticipate him getting one of these, and I would be so happy for him because he deserves it. And he's a great friend. He's a great man. He's a great coach. I'd hate to see him leave for us, but at the same time, that's what this business is all about, and he's earned those ops. So I'm excited for him in that regard. But we'll make sure we have a good plan in place.
Matt, it's been here your whole tenure. What would you say your relationship with him is, and how so, if any, has it changed since he took over as the Packers president?
It feels like since the day I got here, and he's been great. He's been super supportive. Yeah, and I can't say enough great things about him.
Every season's all in, obviously, but it seems like just every lever has been pulled, from Rudy saying we need to compete for championships and trading for Micah Parsons, churning the roster with 23 moves heading into Week 18. When you go through what you've gone through and put your heart and your soul into it once again, and then this is the end result, what's it feel like to be in your shoes today?
Yeah, it's a kick in the gut, just like it is for every Packer fan out there. But you got to dust yourself off. You got to and get to work. Roll up your sleeves and get to work. And that started this morning. You come in, and as painful as it was to watch that tape, you watch the tape and you figure out why things went the way they did. And it's unfortunate, and then you start having conversations after that, and just try to find solutions moving forward.
Whether it was the flight home last night or this morning watching film or whatever, just how hard is it to swallow what happened? I mean, if 15 plays go a different direction, you might be playing at Seattle next week.
Yeah, that's football, and unfortunately, we got to find a way to not be in this situation. Bottom line.
I talked to a dozen guys last night in the locker room. You could tell how tired they were and emotional they were when they opened the doors. And when you said what happened from the first half to the end of this game, and when they looked for words, most of them all said the word, we couldn't finish, we didn't finish. What does that mean to an athlete? What do you take that as a coach moving forward?
Yeah, I think that was a big theme going into this game, is knowing your opponent and knowing what they were capable of doing and knowing how they'd come back. I want to say, was that their fourth quarter comeback or whatever? So that was the main message, is to finish. It was talked about ad nauseum, and we didn't finish. So I think we all kind of look ourselves in the mirror and say, what can I do a little bit better?
And if Ed said, we want you back as head coach, but we're not gonna do anything about the contract till next year, is that feasible? I mean, for you, would you accept that? Is that a bad situation if you are in a lame duck situation?
Yeah, I'm not, again, those are for another time, I think. I'm so focused on our players, our staff, and just trying to, like I said before a million times, try to find solutions how to get better.
Matt, did you see the Bears locker room video after last night?
I did not.
And Matt, there's a bunch of us in here that were, sorry, I didn't think that was gonna count, because you just said you didn't see it.
Of course you did, Jason.
There were a bunch of us here that were here for 4th and 26, that were here for the 2014 NFC Championship game. You were on Dan Quinn's staff for that Super Bowl. Assuming we continue the way things are, how do you make sure that a gut-wrenching loss like this serves as we gotta get our act together and we're gonna overcome this and not a spiral that things just keep.
Yeah, I think you got to use it as fuel. I mean, there's no other way to. First of all, you got to acknowledge it and accept it for what it is, and then try to find ways to learn from it. But I think ultimately, you got to use it for fuel. I mean, this one stings, and it should sting, and it should sting for a long time. And I mean, when these guys are training away from the facility, and there's a moment where, oh man, I don't feel like doing this today. It's like, hey, think about how you felt in that locker room. Maybe that can get you motivated to get up off your butt and do what you need to do to get a little bit better. And that's going to be the message to our guys, is you have to use it as fuel. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one. Thank you.